Hello and welcome to another episode of NERF News, your number one source for NERF news on the net. I'm your host, ZombieStrike, and I am exhausted. Spoiler season is in full swing, and making all of these NERF news updates is driving me crazy. Luckily, this is the NERF BRAINSAW. I got to play with a prototype for it up at Hasbro's HQ, so I already know a lot about it. I have some fun stuff to say about it, and I think that while it's a little bit more expensive than it needs to be, it's gonna be a decent offering of sorts. So let's talk about the obvious stuff right now. 4-dart Smart AR system mounted on both sides, pump grip, trigger in the back, plunger tubes up here. What does that sound like to you? If it isn't a rough cut, then you haven't been nerfing for very long. So this is essentially a rough cut reshell here, and you can tell that from a lot of factors. The overall design of it looks exactly like a rough cut. This paneling here is very similar, and that's what it is. It's a little bit thicker than a rough cut because it's got to have space in between to sandwich the chainsaw, or the brain saw, if you will. But overall, it's a rough cut. It's going to perform like a rough cut. It's going to prime like a rough cut, and it's going to fire like a rough cut. That means select fire, sort of, depending upon how good your model is. And I think that honestly this charging handle is a step backwards. To me, it looks a lot like a screwdriver handle, but in reverse and used for a shotgun foregrip. So that's weird to me. I don't think that it's nearly as nice as the super ergonomic one on the rough cut, which I like a lot. Now, as far as the BRAINSAW itself goes, this is a foam-bladed chainsaw. When I played with the prototype, it worked kind of by pulling this ripcord here, would charge just the front spinning disc, and then these were purely for aesthetic show, so that it looked kind of like that's what it was. There were a few different iterations. I'm glad that they went with this one. It's compact, it's simple, it's sweet, and it should work very well. So this is technology that's been around in Hasbro for a long time. There used to be Super Soakers that did something like this. There have been the double shot with the chainsaw, also from the ZombieStrike line recently, was another mashup of like a time-tested blaster into a ZombieStrike reshell with foam spinning disc technology. So it should be reasonably safe for use against perpetual playgroup things, but keep in mind that it's still a full rough cut of giant chunk of plastic complete with tack rail and everything, so don't go swinging it willy-nilly. Like, be safe, be smart, but it should be fun. For the younger crowd in particular, this is a nice roleplay edition, I think, that's very sweet. Like, it's a cool addition. We've got this weird forward carrying handle here so that you can double hand this thing and use it like Gears of War style if you really wanted to go ham on your opponents. But keep in mind that it's a giant hunk of plastic. Now, I think that this is going to be foam and this is going to be a foam disc. There's some plastic wheel stuff going on inside to make sure that it tumbles correctly, but very cool. Keep in mind that this does not fire the chainsaw. There was a lot of question about that when the double shot one was out. Like, how would any blaster with something this thin mounting it throw this without using some sort of like torsion pinch on either side? Anyway, I think that it's going to work exactly how we expect it to, which is to say, like, not great, but not bad. It's not automatic. It's going to be man-powered. There's no electricity flowing through this, but that is the overall premise of the blaster. Is it's a circle saw made of foam attached in the very center of a rough cut with a different ergonomic profile to it. So I kind of like that this definitely looks like a ZombieStrike blaster to me. I don't like the regular grip. I do like that it has a handguard. I'm a big believer in handguards, and so when they get attached to things, I get excited. But that's the NERF ZombieStrike BRAINSAW. Now, it is going to cost $30 when it initially drops and hits the market, and so I'm legitimately curious because I'm having a hard time deciding for myself, keeping in mind that this is designed for a slightly younger nerfing audience. Like, no HVZ player can use a foam spinning buzzsaw, so this isn't for them. You should buy a rough cut for $20, not this. But in general, do you think that this is going to be a success on the market? I'm curious. Like, are people willing to pay an extra $10 to have a spinning foam chainsaw gimmick on their rough cut? Since it's such an exact carbon copy port over, I think that this is a really good litmus test for this technology. And if we as a NERF community decide that we like this sort of fun, goofy aspect and are willing to pay $10 for it, Hasbro will keep making it. So, like, that's kind of cool. Let's sound off in the comment section below so that I kind of know what to expect from you guys when I go up to Toy Fair and make my eventual review on this blaster. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of NERF News. I'll see you guys later.